Welcome to the Soul Seeker podcast. I'm your host, Sam Kabert. I started this pod back in 2019 when I was taking my first steps on the path of remembering. And at the time, the tagline for the show was a journey of self-discovery. A year later, it became a journey of remembering. Yet, what I know now is back then, I was still seeking. And what I've come to know now is that it's the journey of seeking that brings us the silent, slow stillness of acceptance. And therein lies our own innate wisdom. It's my mission now to eradicate the glorification of hustle culture, as it was my drive in entrepreneurship that led to a greater whole, and that's because I was outsourcing my sovereignty rather than looking within. So let this be your invitation to take a deep breath in and remember that at any time we can shift our thoughts and our feelings to create the outer world in which we wish to live. Soul Seekers, it's time to grow. Let's go. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. I am your host, as always, Sam Kabert, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about chasing dreams, chasing goals, and achieving success only to get to, God, there's got to be something more to this human experience, right? And that is actually very similar to my story. For those of you that aren't familiar with my story, because I don't always talk about it, but I was chasing success. All the material success ended up being named to Silicon Valley's 40 under 40 list, built a 7-figure business, and I was deeply unfulfilled, deeply depressed. I was numb, in fact, and that's what got me on the spiritual path. So when Denise Evans, which she's our guest in today's episode, when she reached out to me and told me a little bit about her story, and I checked out her book and her teachings that are very similar in alignment with soul life balance and my teachings of yin and yang, or yang and the feminine and masculine, I was like, yeah, I'd love to interview you. So in today's episode, our guest is Denise Evans, and she's going to talk about all the things she's learned on her journey of going deep with spirituality after achieving her version of success. She had an MBA. I mean, once you have an MBA, I think you always do. But yeah, she was successful in her career. I believe she won 2 national ballroom dancing competitions and was even a cheerleader for the Kansas City Chiefs. So all the things, and then was like, hey, I want to go deeper on spirituality. So that's what today's episode is about. A lot of it is really about how can you balance being in the material world and still connected to your sovereignty, your higher self, and your spirituality. We talk about relationships and so many things. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And if you haven't already left the podcast a 5-star review on wherever you're listening to it, please consider leaving the podcast a 5-star review. It helps the show grow. And if you'd like to go deeper with me, the best way to do so would be to join my free, yes, I said free, breath club. Every week we do a breathwork session, and there's also an online community and so much more. So with that, enjoy this episode with Denise Evans. Here we are again for another episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. And just as we always do, we'll drop in with just a few breaths. So for all of you listening, I know that you know this, but it's always a good thing to say. If you're driving or doing anything other than being fully present right now, you can always breathe with us. Just don't close down your eyes. Denise, for yourself, for me, and for all of you listening that have the opportunity to slow down and to shift into your inner world, I invite you to just close down your eyes, feeling your feet on the floor, sitting straight up, and through the nose, inhaling all the way up, sipping in a bit more air at the top, and through the mouth, sighing it out. And another big, slow inhale through the nose, inhaling all the way up, sipping in a bit more air at the top, pausing here, and exhale. One last one, letting the belly expand as you bring that breath all the way up, Sipping in a bit more air at the top. Just gently bring awareness to your third eye, rolling up the eyes and sighing it out. Flickering the eyes back open. Here we are. Denise, welcome to the Soul Seeker podcast.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. You reached out to me and pretty much told me what you're about, and we're like, "Hey, could I be on the show?" And I was like, "Well, let me look." And then I looked and I was like, "Oh, so similar." There's a lot of things that I see in your content that is very similar to me. And in having done the Soul Seeker podcast now for 6 years, I generally say no, like 100% of the time these days when people pitch to be on the show, especially if it's from an agency, because I've just found like it's just those interviews are typically the worst ones. So welcome. Super excited to have you here. One of the things that stood out to me in just your messaging, Denise's book is called Zen in High Heels. And obviously, that doesn't speak to me specifically, but a lot of your messaging, like even on the back right here, where is it? There's ignite you into the confidence start today, Annie. Wait, that's not looking to be is search commit. I think I wrote it down somewhere else actually. Oh, there's this notion of like you have to leave the material world behind to be a good like spiritual person. And my message is of soul life balance, like the yin and yang and all of that, and balancing, your life with your connection to your higher self or your inner world. Just to kick it off, tell us a little bit about your journey with spirituality and how you kind of see this dance between soul and life.
That's exactly it. People think, or I wondered, do I have to give up the things that I enjoy or the car that I drive, the money in my bank, if I really truly want to seek truth and wisdom? And so I went on this journey of discovery, like, can I be enjoy the things that I like to enjoy and still continue to grow, continue to get better, be better, have better relationships, understand where I need to grow. I would feel the feeling in a church service or at a good yoga class, and I would wonder, how can I have that feeling not sitting in the church or in the yoga class? How can I take that out into the world and into my interactions with other people, and especially into difficult relationship interactions? And so I just went on this quest of seeking, and it took, this book is probably almost 30 years of researching and seeking and trying and learning and growing and failing and trying again and stumbling, and then I realized a lot of the teachers are saying the same things, and a lot of it is said in a way that doesn't really make sense to me in 2025. So I thought, we need a book that makes it's the same principles of truth, but how can you really apply them today with your mother-in-law or with your difficult neighbor?
Yeah. I love that. And that resonates too, because my YouTube channel for a while was named Spirituality Simplified. That
Mm,
same idea of just like, hey, let's kind of like dumb this all down, not make it so
yes.
complicated. And do you work with like plant and earth medicines or psychedelics at all?
I do not, and I have not, but I've done breath work, which I think can take you, it seemed to take me to another realm. I've done
Oh,
that a couple,
100%. Yeah,
I've
no.
done two breathwork journeys that were very healing. And I've done a lot of other energy, neuro-emotional therapy technique was a big one that helped me. There's a guy on the East Coast that does that. And I've done kind of all the energy kinds of work that you can do. Forgive my
Yeah.
voice, I've got a little cold.
Oh, for sure. No worries. It's 6 degrees out there in Kansas City,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
makes sense. Yeah. The reason why I ask, like, because I know for me at the end of like a big medicine ceremony, I come to this place of it's all so simple. It's all so simple. And then sometimes the next thing that comes in is like the self-gaslighting, and it's like, and I overcomplicate it. And then I used to have like shame and guilt around it. And then the next uh, uh, evolution of that came through was, and that's okay. It's all so simple, and we overcomplicate, dot, 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 and that's okay. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's one of the things I have really learned on my journey is I can really get a principle and apply it and understand and take it deep and actually change and transform and realize that the universe is going to continue to give me opportunities to test that skill, that new skill. So I just look at it as long as I'm still breathing, there are going to be things that I need to continue to practice, evolve toward. So I just kind of look at it as it's not a destination. And I know I have come so far, and the level of internal peace from a former very type A, overachieving, very driven person, I didn't know it was really available to me. I was kind of hoping it was, but I have this peace, inner peace that I didn't even know I could have, and I have it the majority of the time now. So I know it's possible, and that's what I want for other people, the people that are seeking it. I want my work in Zen and high heels to offer little pebble stones, help them step across the rivers that are sort of drowning them or flooding them over. Just little practical things that they can do and practice. And then as you get stronger, as um, it starts maybe with an outer circle of influence that you can be different. And then you keep bringing it closer and closer and closer and closer to home till you actually make deep, lasting, real change.
Yeah, I'd love to unpack kind of like some practical steps people can take that from where you can draw on your own journey because that resonates so deeply going from like type A or high performer or just the doing energy to being, and it can be hard to balance both. But before we get into that, one thing I wanted to mention is on the back of your book, you have a tagline, seek it, find it, live it. I love that so much. And it just struck me because I've been saying this a lot recently. It's in the intro theme song of the Soul Seeker podcast. But personally, I started this show back in 2019 called Soul Seeker that was very much about this energy of seeking, like looking for something. And the tagline back then was a journey of self-discovery. It was very much seeking. And then a couple of years later, I updated the tagline from a journey of self-discovery to a journey of remembering because I was deeper in my journey and a lot of things were coming forward where it was like, ooh, this pushing energy of seeking isn't so much serving me. It's more of like a unfolding and a remembering. And then last year, I updated the tagline again. So there's a theme here every 2 years to a journey of acceptance. And that's really where I feel like I'm at now. And I can see the parallel there with your seek it, find it, love it. Seek energy, obviously, we both have that word, and then find it like you're looking for that thing. Okay, you found it. For me, that's the remembering when I found it, right? And then love, acceptance, right? So I'd love to hear a little bit more of what's coming through for you right now.
When we say seek it, so often we're thinking seeking outside of ourselves. And so often that's where it starts. We're looking for the teacher, we're looking for the ayahuasca experience, we're looking for the thing that's going to help us see and feel and learn and grow. When you and I come to realize the seeking is actually within ourselves. We're seeking within ourselves what it is our heart desires, what it is our soul is longing to express. And that does not come, there are outside tools to help us uncover some of the dirt that's been on us, spiritually speaking. Um, there are these tools that can help us excavate some of that. But the real answers are seek within.
Yeah, I had a beautiful reframe come in a couple years ago from a buddy, Nathan Colerman, and you know how everyone says like the way out is through.
Mhm.
Like
The obstacle is the way. Yeah.
yeah, it's so often like the way out is through. Like it just, I was like, yeah, I get it and I feel that, but it's like 90% the way there. It's not quite landing for me. And then this friend of mine, Nathan Coleman, he reframed it to the way out is within. And I was like, that's it. That's exactly why I was feeling resistance with the way out is through, because probably similar as you, like, identifying as type A or being in your doing, it's like, okay, the way out, like, let me do something and go through it. And it's a softening and being like, no, it's going within, acceptance, love, all of these things, right?
Yes. Well, and then the find it is you do start to see answers, or you do have life experiences that give you clarity, but then you have to learn how to live that and apply that everywhere so that you're not just feeling calm when you're in the meditation. Like you can take that calmness out into your job or out into the long line at the DMV, or, wherever you go in life. That's the find it and live it.
100%. And I know you talk a lot about relationships, and the relationships are like the most challenging thing of this human experience. And along with that comes triggers. So to your point, like, how do you actually recommend that people can live it when they are feeling that rush of adrenaline and that trigger state coming through?
That all that trigger is just showing you work that you need to do deep within. So it's never really about the other person, which I know you know. It's just reflecting something back for us to see. So all of it really begins with, first is awareness. I have to start paying attention to what it is that bothers me, who bothers me, and be honest with myself. How much am I giving? How much are other people giving? I just really start paying attention to relationships in an observational way, not just feeling and being in it. Um, so it comes from A, observation, B, doing your own healing work. Where does this person remind you of in your past? Where did I feel like this before? It may look like a different person, but they make me have the same feeling of, let's say you're in a marriage and this person makes you feel unheard. They can't hear you. And you can ask yourself, where did I feel unheard before? And you can go back and figure out, where did that begin? Oh, I realize now I was unheard with my relationship with this parent. And then you can do therapy or energy work or your own journaling, your own work. And you got to go all the way back and figure out, which I know you know, where it began. What do I need to learn from that? How can I heal that? And then look for it when it shows up in today's world. And it'll show up less and less. The more you do your healing work, the better prepared you are to deal with it when it shows up in life. And then you have
Mhm.
choices. I have a choice of am I going to respond differently to the person? Am I going to distance myself a little bit from the person? Do I need to just remove that person from my life? So you start to realize that although they're the one triggering you, you have the authority now in your life. And then you don't have that circle in your mind. They shouldn't have done this. Why'd they say that? You just switch the attention back to yourself. What do I need to know? When did I feel like this before? Is this healthy? Do I need to change my energy and dynamic in it? And will that change the relationship? Or is it a product of where I came from and I'm going to outgrow it and I'm going to choose to distance myself or remove myself?
I love that. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it too. And I call it mirror work. I know like a lot of people think of mirror work like, looking in a physical mirror. In fact, this is a funny story, but I bought a book from Louise Hayes, I believe, entitled Mirror Work without even reading what it was about. And then I got it, and it was all about like looking yourself in the mirror and saying affirmations and things like that. I was like, damn it, that should have read the description. Because similar to everything that you were talking about, like all of that came through for me a couple years ago as a download. And I've heard like whispers of that before in different like spiritual texts or circles or just conversations. but it's one of those things just in life when you come to it an understanding for yourself and it really lands, then that's embodiment. So you can start to utilize it. And for a while, I had a morning prayer that I would read every single day. And a big piece of that prayer was seeing other people as an extension, as a mirror of myself. And anytime something comes up, looking for that within me. And that, I believe, is like one of the most practical ways you can apply spirituality throughout your day with like just a very right. And you can learn so much. It's incredible. So my question for you is like, in your own personal experience, like how did you go from feeling triggered to being like, okay, let me actually be with this now when I'm triggered, so I'm not like just getting lost into the all of the hormones that are flooding my body when I'm in this fight or flight state.
So is the question like, what do I do when I feel a trigger come on? Or
Yeah,
what
what do you do
was,
now? Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'll give you a very specific example. When my book came out, and you probably know this from experience, but you know, they always say, you know, who's there really there for you when you're down and out, and see who comes around. But it's also true when good things happen. And when my book came out, there were a couple of people on my inner circle that were relatively silent. And it really surprised me and kind of took me back. Like I remember thinking, I'm having all these other people congratulate me or ordering multiple copies for their friends or this or that. And then there was a few people I considered in my inner circle that were really relatively quiet. I mean, I know they bought the book, but um, and that is from my work, I understand that's a soft spot in my heart. One of my main soft spot is people like not being there when they say they will or when I thought they would. That's my like soft spot or trigger, if you want to call it that. So when that happened, I felt myself starting to be in my mind about, you know, what should I do, what do I think, are they gonna, should I say something, are they really friends, sort of spiraling in that thing. And then
Mhm.
I remembered, wait, what would I tell a client? Let's think back, when have you felt this way before? Oh yeah, yeah, okay, this is my soft spot. Oh, this is like showing me in the mirror a soft spot. So I realize the truth, which is sometimes you have to remind yourself that you have zero control over other people's behavior. So I was like, okay, I know I have zero control over this person's behavior. They're doing what they want to do. So then it's kind of hurting my heart, and I know that that's hurting my heart because it's a spot in me. Like they are not causing the hurt in my heart. That hurt was already there. They are revealing to me that it's still there, or they are kind of ripping the scar a little bit. And then I have to say, since I can't change them, and it is a spot in me, what can I do in this scenario? I am going to embrace the people that are rallying for me, and I'm going to be grateful for that. I'm going to shift my focus from, oh, look what these one or two people are not doing, to look what these dozen people are doing. Look what this person that I thought was in the periphery, and look how much they've stepped up with enthusiasm and with support. And so I got to switch me to gratitude, and I got to realize the little tender spot in my heart is still there. They did a gift. Now I know it's still there. It's not completely healed. I have work to do. And I can shift the way I am with that person. They can go out a layer in my life, maybe. Let's see in time what happens with this. Maybe I don't have to completely cut them off. I certainly don't have to do a confrontation, because there's nothing to confront. They're being who they are, who they want to be, and then I have to do the same. I have to know my integrity, my intention. I'm on a journey of healing. What would that look like in a difficult scenario? That's going to look like I'm going to focus on, I'm going to control the controllables. I'm going to focus on what I can be grateful for. And I'm going to let those one or two relationships play out. And I will follow my intuition each step of the way.
Yeah, I feel you. I have a question for you because gratitude is what was coming up for me. And it's going to sound wild to some people for sure, especially when you're like totally in it and spiraling and all that, to your point. But when I can find gratitude for the person or situation that is bringing that up, oh my God, like that is the deep work that is it can be so challenging because if you're in it, right, it's like yeah, it's hard, but when you can reframe it to be like, thank you, because you're showing this in me. So now I can resolve and address that in myself. And then it's like we're not harboring ill will towards that person anymore. And that just feels so good, you know?
Not harboring ill will. And as you get further and further on your spiritual path, you start to realize that there really is not good or bad. We create the good or bad in our mind.
Mhm.
It just is. Their behavior isn't necessarily good or bad. We are attaching a meaning to it. So also, if you can keep things neutral, if you're not quite able to feel gratitude for the person that's inflicting the trigger, just feel neutral. Like this really isn't against me. It really isn't about me. Can I feel neutral about it? That helps too.
Have you ever felt overwhelmed by emotions and unsure how to move through them? Sam created the Breath Club to help you find calm and clarity. In this free online community, Sam teaches how to regulate your nervous system through breathwork and process emotions effectively. Did you know that most emotions only last 90 seconds when you fully allow yourself to feel them? This is called the 90-second rule, and it's a powerful tool backed by science for emotional healing. Each week, Sam hosts live calls to guide breathwork practices and create real connection. You'll also get access to an online course and pre-recorded breathwork videos. The link to join is in the show notes.
Yeah, neutral. That's a good point. Just this whole concept of like, what is it revealing to me? Like, I love that you use that word because in my latest book, Overcome the Overwhelm, I use a 6-step breath process to access peace within just a couple of minutes. And the E in the acronym is energy to reveal. It's what is this energy that's stirring within me, revealing to me what's the narrative, what's the story here. So yeah, that really resonates a lot. In terms of relationships, you know, and them working as teachers, I know that's a big part of your work. Could you tell us a little bit more how people can start to see their relationships as teachers?
This could be like a 3-hour podcast
Yeah.
to talk about, to really get into it. But the first thing I would say is that I think Carolyn Miss has that book,
Mhm.
Sacred Contracts.
Love it.
And and the first thing is really, especially our primary relationships, we have some sort of soul contract with them. And it's almost as if our soul has hired them to teach us certain life lessons. And sometimes that can be done in a year relationship. Sometimes it's a 20-year marriage. Sometimes it's a parental child relationship. Whatever it is, that's a close relationship that has meaning, that you have love and passion about, and realizing that your soul has a contract with this person. And what are they, like you say, what are they here to teach me or bring out in me? You know, the person that, if you see the explosions on like reality TV or something, the person didn't make you explode in anger. The anger was already there. So these soul contracts or tight relationship people are just there to teach us, show us, help. We're here to help each other's souls evolve. So that's one thing. And relationships as teachers also is realizing, let's say the example I gave about the friend, about the when my book came out, that is teaching me that, like I said, that wound of my heart is still a little bit there. So that person taught me that about myself. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Mhm.
It's relationships as teachers being willing to look at what they stir up in you and then ask yourself the question, not why did they do that? Why don't they do it different? If they would only do it different, we wouldn't have these problems. The question is, why are you in relationship with this person? The question is, why did you choose them? Or what about you made them choose you? You have to look deeper. This is really helpful if there's like infidelity in a relationship. So many people will say, oh, well, he cheated and, it's all his fault and I'm the victim and he's the bad guy and I'm going to go find someone better. When the real question and the real teaching and life lesson is, what signs did you miss along the way? What times did you sell out your intuition because you wanted it to be different or better? What about you attracted a cheater to you? When have you ever felt this way before? You start going deep with the questions, be willing to hear the answers within yourself. It takes time, but if you have a genuine desire, the answer's always there. And sometimes it's not what we want to hear or think, but that if you're going true and real and deep, that will heal and that will open your eyes up so those kind of relationships don't happen. If you do that healing work of a cheater, you will not be cheated on again.
Amazing. Yeah, no, it's super empowering when we can take our power back and not just force the blame on someone else. And we have that honest look within ourselves. Where is that in me? What's coming up in me? Let me accept, let me surrender to this, which happens to be the fourth step of the breath process. But yeah, no, this is great. I noticed in your book that you had a bunch of recommend reading different books, and the one book that stood out to me was Sacred Contracts. So it's awesome that you brought that up. That book has been so helpful in my journey, and I've recommended it to so many people. What are some ways that you've applied some of the things that you've learned in Carolyn Mace's book, Sacred Contracts, into your own life?
Well, the thing about things being more neutral is helpful. Understanding that there's more to this than meets the eye, and that, we are beings of light, and so is the other person. Even if their behavior is bad, there's light underneath that. They are acting out of a wounded part of themselves, a darker part, but that's not who they really are. And that's not who I really am. And so it's just that understanding of, it's just neutral. It just is what it is. And we have to see what is in there, look for what is in each relationship challenge for us, and realize, like you said, it's taking back your power, because then you have the opportunity to do something different. If I show up different in that, there's a relationship cycle with, let's just say, a not a spouse or parent, but a different relative or coworker that we work close with. And it's a circle and cycle, and you anticipate what they're going to do. And you in your mind, you're driving to work, and I know they're going to act like that again or say that again. If you can realize that you have the power to change you have the power to make a different choice for you, and you show up different with the possibility that they're going to be different. I'm not going to drive to work thinking I know what they're going to do. I'm going to say, I'm going to be different about this. I'm going to be more interested and open to their perspective. And I'm going to see if that shifts the dynamic at all. I'm going to be open to the possibility that I'm going to walk in and they're going to be, oh, I thought about it last night and I really want to understand what you meant by this point you were trying to make to me. So I'm opening up a possibility that they could be different too. So it's that choice, it's that looking for things to be different, and realizing that I have the power, and it takes two to tango. So if you leave that dance floor, that tango does not keep going on. You cannot complain about the tango that keeps going on if you don't change anything.
Yeah, it's so true. It's really It's truth. What about what else about relationships? I mean, I know you mentioned that you have a lot to talk about, so I'd love to hear just some other things that are coming through.
Yeah, I've got the book right here.
Oh,
Let's
sweet.
see. We could see. Oh, personal responsibility, I think, is the first chapter on relationships, of just taking responsibility for whatever it is that we can learn or own, which is kind of what we've been saying, of
Mhm.
never blaming the other person. And this isn't to talk about someone that truly has done something illegal and truly victimized you, but this is to talk about the person that, cheated or lied to you or mistreated your loyalty, all these little things that we get hung up on and unforgiveness of, and realizing I chose that person, you know. So taking personal responsibility gives you all the power that things could change. And it's something, if you were to listen to, I don't know, 80% of people complaining about relationships, it is them complaining about the other person's behavior, which is a
It's
total
true.
waste of time. We're not going to get anywhere. There's no personal growth or evolution in that dynamic of me thinking someone else did something. I just have to take responsibility for how I might have contributed, put up with, attracted it, stayed. Got to find my part. I got to look in that mirror, like you say, and see the reflection. What is it reflecting back to me?
Curious, are you into Dolores Cannon's work?
No, I don't
Yeah.
know who, I don't think I know who that is.
She wrote Three Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth in like 16 or 17 total books. It's all about like hypnosis kind of and QHHT and like and tapping into lives on other planets, if you will. But
Oh,
I can hear her voice when you're speaking because I watched the same YouTube video, like it's 2.5 hours long. I probably watched the same one. I'm going to exaggerate and say 10 times, but over 5 times, for sure. And I can hear her voice just being like, let it go, let it go. There's this certain part where she's kind of touching on what we're speaking about right now. And she's just like, you gotta let it go. And she gives you like a exact formula of like kind of how to let it go. I remember screen recording that and I went to a sound healing which was with gongs, like big gongs, and then he also had some crystal bowls as well. And the yoga studio had hammocks. So it was just like you're just all cocooned in a hammock during that. And I went into approaching it like a ceremony, and there was this person in my life that I was working on forgiving, and I just visualized it. And one of the beautiful things that we can do when we're forgiving someone else, and I don't think this gets talked about enough, is like when we are visualizing, like say ho'oponopono, something like that. I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, is typically how most people know it. The way I was trained in ho'oponopono is I forgive you, please forgive me. Because I'm sorry is to give away your power, and it's kind of taking it away from them as well. And some of those situations, it may not be right as well, to say I love you. That's a whole nother thing. But in the way that Ho'oponopono is typically taught, the way I learned it, straight from the Hawaiian lineage, is that you kind of see them on a stage below you, and you're having this interaction with the person. And what doesn't get talked about, what I alluded to earlier, is people get caught up in their mind being like, well, what if that person isn't going to like comply, or they're just whatever. And it's like, no, it's all in your head. You can choose how to play out the scenario. And I think that's so important, because a lot of times when we are doing like forgiveness type work or processing these deeper, more challenging type of relationships and soul contracts, a lot of the work can be done in the astral, whether you want to call it meditation or visualization, but just kind of doing your own work to reflect and play it out.
yeah. And realizing that nothing that anyone does really is about you. They're doing it through their own lens. And I taught my daughter this before when someone was really rude at a store and like she was young and it kind of hurt her, she'd feel like taken aback. Why was that person so mean? And I was like, honey, don't worry because they're going to be mean to the next person in line too. And they
I
were
love that.
probably mean to the person before us too. So we just got to pray for that person and hope that's, and be thankful that we don't live in a mind that wants to treat people like that,
Yeah, and
you know.
energetic hygiene too, just having that interaction with someone. And before like you're doing your work, a lot of times like all of a sudden like you're having like a really bad day and you don't really know why, and then you start to be crabby with someone else. But now as you continue down this path and are continuously doing your work, like things just get processed so much quicker and it makes so much sense. And it's like, hey,
Yes.
I picked something up earlier from this interaction. I'm carrying it. Great. I have the awareness around it, but it doesn't feel good. And then once you get to the point of understanding energetic hygiene, just kind of like shaking it out and just having the intention to remove it or doing a lion's breath, whatever you need to do. Oh man, for me, that was such a big game changer, everything you're talking about right now.
Yes, water off the duck's back.
Water off the duck's back. What does that mean? I'm not
Well,
sure I
I
heard
mean,
that one.
well, you know how it just like would go on, like it just goes off them. So the person that's putting something energetically or words that you don't want, you just,
Yeah, that's good. I dig that. Yeah, that's awesome.
If you're looking for a powerful and transformative experience for your next event, consider bringing in Sam Kabert as a keynote speaker. Sam's message of soul life balance and his expertise in mental health and mindfulness resonate deeply with audiences. He not only inspires with his story, but also offers practical tools like breathwork to help attendees regulate their emotions and reconnect with themselves. You can even have Sam lead a guided breathwork journey, creating a truly unforgettable experience. To learn more or book Sam for your event, check out the link in the show notes to book a call with Sam now.
You talk about in your book as well, like the words we speak, and we're like casting spells with our words. Like, are there some things that you could share about that?
well, that is part of what we were saying about if you were to overhear two people talking, complaining, I should say, about their relationship, right? They're putting words and not really allowing the possibility of things to be different. And then, it goes with kind of the law of attraction of what am I saying? What does my body hear me saying? I'm big on not complaining about physical things on my body because I don't want the cells of my body to
Mm.
think, oh no, like we're doing something wrong.
Expand
So,
on that one, if you will. Sorry to jump in there, but I think that's a big one for people to hear.
yeah. Um, Well, especially for women. I mean, I don't know how it is when you're with the guys, but women are constantly not even aware of how much we're complaining about our bodies. Like, oh my God, I don't even know what. Like, so I've been out of it so long that I can't think of a negative thing.
But the
But
cellular, like the mental talk that goes on, how your body receives it, that piece of it.
it is like quantum physics. I mean, Deepak Chopra has some work on this, and I think the biology of belief might have some science on this of how our cells and our organ systems and it's all connected and the words that we speak and the thoughts that we think. If you were constantly to think a complaining thought about and I can't think of an example, but
We
well,
all have it.
And Louise Hay has that book, Heal Your Life,
Mhm.
which is all about if you have let's say, an eye problem, that's energetically linked to not being able to see different perspectives on issues.
Mhm.
If you have a knee problem, she has it energetically linked to being uncomfortable with the direction your life is moving.
Mhm.
If you have a hip problem, that's linked to the inability to feel joy in your life. Or, low back, I think, is feeling a lack of support from other people, gives you low back problems eventually,
And financial,
energetically.
speaking from experience, and financial insecurity in general, I had some
Yes.
lower back. You know, the more you do your work, you're able to start to release all of this stuff, which is incredible. And your book, Zen and High Heels, is such a great resource. Like, guys, this is so well done. I love the script font you have in it, and I love like just all the different topics you have here and the way it's laid out. It's so reader friendly. So I really encourage people to check it out. It's called Zen High Heels. You can find in the show notes. Denise, you've had the book out for, I think, about 2 years now.
Over
Is
a
that?
year, a little
Oh,
over a year.
got it. And so what's life been like since you've published the book, and what projects are you working on now?
Well, it's exciting, and it's such a from someone who was used to being good at things externally, the type A, I have an MBA, I'm like the overachiever, like outwardly successful, to pull it in and say, this is really a project of my soul, and to say, this is really work that I feel is meaningful and valuable, no matter I feel like every person that I work with or that comes to me and there something has changed and shifted and they had like an aha moment or an ability to be more calm and a better parent that they want to be, because people want these qualities. They just don't really understand how to get them. And life is too busy to take the 30-day retreat or take a 12-month sabbatical. So this is Zen and High Heels is like tools. You can take just a little bit at a time or get the audiobook and listen to it on your commute to work or whatever. So it's meant to have little steps and little things, so it's been exciting to have people respond in that way. And actually, it's universal principles. So although it says high heels, I've actually had a lot of positive feedback from men who read it as well and are like, that one thing really made sense and really helped me in this way. So it's been good to get that, but also to, this whole social media thing when there's a million follower people or there's all these big huge numbers, to be just my little 6,000 and growing account, to be not go to the type A overachiever. Oh my gosh, what can I do to make that 7,000? I'm just
Yeah.
grateful for the six. I'd rather have 6,000, I'd rather have 600 people who resonate with the work. You know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
been a fun filling up my soul more than my head. And I've
Wow.
enjoyed this new journey for me. And then I've written a TED Talk, so I'm looking forward
Oh,
to
nice.
doing that on a stage in 2025 somewhere and just continuing the work and helping people realize they have a choice and that it's every single day. It doesn't have to be deep and heavy childhood trauma, wounding, all these things right now. Today, you can choose one thing different and better. And if you close your eyes for 2 minutes and ask your body what it needs, it's going to tell you. Or if you think about at the end of the day, an interaction you had with someone that wasn't good, and feel, what did that make me feel? What do I want to do different next time? Do I need to address something with them? Do I need to apologize? If we just take a little bit of time in our day and in our lives, we can start expanding personally and spiritually, and it makes all the difference in the way that you feel and move through life, and allows for more meaningful connections because you can show up, because you've done the work and you know who you are.
100%. I love the message. I'm all about it. Yeah, no, that's
Thank you.
great.
Yeah.
And yeah, just putting your art out without expectations just feels so good. And more, like I gotta give a shout out to my homie and coach, Eric Godsey. It's been a while since I've worked with him, but he had a webinar a few days ago and it took me back to memory lane and how much I've learned from him. But a big piece of what the core of what he teaches is, we're all artists. And a big reason why we're facing this mental and emotional health crisis is because we're disconnected from our art. And a lot of, I don't know if this resonates with you, but for me, like, it's so empowering to view myself as an artist because I mean, I got into painting like a year, 2 years ago, and I don't paint that often, but that was like a great expression. I'm not a quote unquote good painter or anything like that. But it's so therapeutic and it feels so good. And then same with like music. I play guitar every now and then, but I'm not a good guitarist. It doesn't come natural. But the things that I am really good at are like doing this podcast, speaking on stage, writing books, and I look at all of the content I've created. I'm like, I don't give myself enough credit for being an artist in the way I create my content because it is an expression. And I don't know if you experience this, but for me at least, like it's so easy for me to get caught back into that like type A or masculine or doing type of energy to like do the thing for a reason. And then I need to like catch myself and be like, no, I'm doing this. I'm doing this so that I can be. This is like my expression that I'm birthing through. And it's just it's a fun journey, you know?
I just went to a Deepak Chopra workshop about a week ago, and his main point was that our souls are really here to create, which I think is what you're saying when you say artist. We are here,
100.
our souls came to create something. And when we can really get down to who we are and what we're here to create, no matter how small it may seem or insignificant, it is significant. If you can change one person's life with your podcast that wouldn't have got the message if you didn't do your podcast, that's enormous, because there's that ripple effect, and they're better to their kids or to their spouse, and then it just goes on through generations. So just the tiniest positive impact is huge.
100%. Was Deepak speaking about his new book, the one about AI?
He didn't talk about it too much. He showed us there's like an AI Deepak now. So you can go to the AI Deepak, he calls it his twin, and ask it a question, and it goes through all of his data and can give you an answer.
Yeah, you know, there's so many spiritual teachers out there. I just haven't gone down Deepak rabbit hole for whatever reason. I think it was whatever. But that said, about a month ago, I was at the local bookstore with my parents, and we were just like checking it out. And it's I shouldn't say like local bookstore, like it is our local bookstore, but it's a mega store. It's massive, and it's cool. Just like go in a bookstore, especially one that's so big, because that's not really a thing as much these days. And Deepak's new book was there, and I started to flip through it, and I don't know if you know what it's called. Is it called like a Dharma dilemma or something like that?
No,
And
that's not what it's called.
I'll tell you all what it's about though. It's about AI. So I started to flip through it because I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. The whole thing, he's prompting AI to, whether it's like Gemini from I think Google or ChatGPT or these different ones, to like summarize spiritual texts. And I was just reading it the other day, and I was like, whoa, this is really fascinating. Because to your point, how we started this podcast with there being like so much what's the word I'm looking for, ancient texts, you know,
Mm,
about spirituality, and there's new age, and there's just so much like how do you start and how do you simplify it? And everything
mm,
he's talking about in that book is like leveraging AI to what he calls uh, AI being the new guru, AI guru. So
mm.
basically learning from AI. And I'm like, that's that's fascinating, especially someone who is such a well-respected spiritual teacher to be speaking about like how we bridge the gap of consciousness and spirituality with technology, with AI. So pretty interesting.
Yeah. Hmm.
But anyways, cool. So thank you so much for coming on the pod, Denise. Guys,
Thank
check out the
you.
show notes. You can follow her, connect with her online, check out the book, all the things. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the very end. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode just as much as I did. If you did, the best way to get back to the show is to just leave a 5-star review. It just takes a couple minutes and a couple of clicks. And if you want to go deeper with me, the best way to do so is to join the Breath Club. That is my free online community where there's a bunch of pre-recorded breathwork exercises, and we do weekly sessions as well. So you can find the link to the Breath Club and everything else we talked about in today's show in the show notes. With that, I'll see you in the next episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the very end. I hope you dug this podcast just as much as I enjoyed it. If you got anything at all, please, if you could just do me a favor and leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to this podcast, it helps the show grow. So thank you for considering to leave a review. If you want to go deeper with Soltara or Elan, you can find the links to connect with them in the show notes. And if you want to work with me, the best way to work with me, the easiest way to work with me is the free way, and that's by joining the Breath Club. The link to the Breath Club is in the show notes. And also know that I'm available for one-on-one support, that is coaching and guidance, as well as keynotes and breathwork journeys for conferences and events. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next episode of The Soul Seeker.